Welcome back to Painting and Decorating. I thought I'd do a review on interior fillers. I use a lot of Polyfilla. I've had a lot of comments about why don't I use this Toupret, and I have used it. It's not a bad filler. It does say one coat, easy sand, no shrinkage, no depth limit, no need to spot prime. I mean, that's one of the problems I've found with it, this spot priming bit. It doesn't really do it. I've tried it, it doesn't really work. I've also got this other one here, this multi-purpose filler, Volden. I've used that because I'd run out of both of these. I couldn't get hold of it, so I got some of this purely to try it as well, and that's definitely third in the line if I'm going to use any of these fillers. Quick look at this one, thistle undercoat plaster. Now I'm showing you that because that's what I use to fill deep holes. You know, it's quite coarse stuff and it dries really quickly, about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and you can then put your top coat on. Then obviously it takes like 24 hours to dry, but you can get a lot of filler on in the day. After trying all these, that's definitely my favourite. I mean, I've used this since when I was serving my apprenticeship, working with my dad. It's slightly changed over the years, but it's still generally the same stuff. These more modern ones, that's definitely a cheaper filler. If you know, a low budget, then go for something like that, especially if you're doing under cracks and holes under wallpaper. You know, it's possibly, you know, it's okay for that, but and so is this one. These are both harder fillers than this. You know, they can take more impact, and they're probably finer to sand down. Well, they are finer to sand down. That stuff kind of falls apart very easily. This stuff, I mean, the reason, I'm going to show you the reasons why I favour this one. One, it mixes better. I can, you know, when I'm filling holes, it's better to fill the holes. It sits in and smooths out. This seems to pull on itself sometimes and creates bubbles within it, which, yeah, I don't like. Again, this, you can mix it how you want it, as thick as you want, and then you can make a hard stop filler by adding paint, which then is like self spot priming. You know, you don't have to go around, you can just use it and then put your final coat on. I tried it with this stuff, no paint in it, did a bit of filling on the ceiling and went over it, and I could see it flashing, so I had to do the ceiling again. So that's definitely why, one reason I prefer this stuff. And like I say, I find it easier to use when I'm filling holes. Also, when you're sanding any of these down, after allowing them to dry fully 24 hours, that one's very soft. As soon as you start sanding it, you can dip into it very easily. This one, when you sand it down, it seems to turn into little balls. The powder's got a limit of how fine it goes by the looks of it. And I can find, you know, I've done some filling and I've sanded it down, and you can see kind of an edge where it just kind of lips, and that's one of that. And this one, when you sand this down, the dust is really fine, and when you sand it's harder, and because it's finer, the dust, the edge of the filler, you can't see nothing. That stuff you can see an edge. What I'm going to do, I'll show you the gear that I've got on here now, and then we'll mix all three of them up, let them dry, and I'll sand each one down and show you the powder. Right, so I always have some cloths when I'm filling, and sometimes wear a mask when I'm filling as well, not just sanding it down. You need one of those, especially when you're doing a lot of filling. Brilliant. Now, when it comes to your filling knives, you need different sizes, and I mean different sizes. You can go down to very small ends when you're filling small gaps, obviously. You can actually have larger blades for going over larger areas. Now, some people have said, I've got a bit of rust on my blade, you know, you can see that there. And that happens quite quickly, literally overnighters sometimes, and you go back to work and you've got a bit of rust on them. Bit like your car brakes, happens on them. So what I usually do is just sand it off. Make sure you get rid of it, because if you allow that to go into your filler, then you've got a stain on your wall. So yeah, make sure you get rid of your rust. Now, filling board, very important, and very important to keep smooth at all times. That's why when I've mixed my filler, I always scrape it off so it's nice and clean. And when I've actually finished, sometimes I'll wipe it down with a damp cloth so it's nice and smooth. That's what I use to mix the filler. Got this beaker, and basically clean water bucket. You can't kick that over, but you can kick anything like that over. So I always have a little bit of water out of that, do my filler, and then drop it straight back in the bucket. I'll start with this one, Volden. This is a multi-purpose one. Although it says multi-purpose filler, it does only say it's for interior. So, but again, when it says multi-surface, walls, wood, things like that, it takes screws and nails when dry, easy to mix, sandable and paintable, shrink and crack resistant. So it claims it's good stuff. I'll just put a little hole in the centre like that. And then using your jug, sorry, your beaker, add some water. If you've just done what I just did then, you had too much water like that, you just have a bit more powder. And when I'm mixing filler like this, I like to use another blade to clean off. Make sure you mix it really well. You don't want to leave any powder not mixed in. to get it nice and creamy. It's not too bad. And then usually what I would do with that is straight onto my hawk and then the filling. So I'm going to put that to one side. And then I'll mix this Toupret up. And already the powder seems different. Very waxy, that one. That's probably because it's got that spot primer stuff in it. Again, little hole in the centre. Not as much water this time. I find this is a bit harder to mix up. I've not added as much water there, but I find it very lumpy. And you're kind of mixing it thinking I've not added enough water, and you mix a bit more water in, and then what you find is it actually goes too thin. It's a very fine line with this one. I'm going to leave it like that because if I add any more water to that, it just goes too thin. To be fair, this is a little bit harder than the first one to mix. And as I'm mixing it there, I can still see lumps in it. Or air pockets, I'm not sure. Lumps or air pockets. Look at that, that should be just creaming up. It's leaving little air pockets, and that's what it does when you're actually trying to use it as a filler. I filled in a ceiling edge line, and when I come back to paint it, there's loads of little holes in it. Oh, that's never happened to me in my life. Strange that. So anyway, that's to one side. I'm just going to use my cloth. Wipe that off. Got to be really careful when you're wiping your blades. Don't fall smooth and you cut yourself. Right then, let's try mixing some of this polyfilla. This is my last bit, this. So. Now the powder already seems thinner than the Toupret. A little bit of water. Acting a little bit the same as Toupret, but it seems to be sticking together a lot easier. All the stuff was slipping around everywhere. Right, I'll leave that in the water. Bit of old powder. Mix up. Now, already I can see it's mixed up quicker. Now, it's not leaving any bubbles. Not half as bad as the other one. And the more I press on that, the smoother it's going. So I'm going to mix this a little bit more. So that Toupret didn't actually do that. In that sense, they're both kind of acting the same there. Right, that's mixed enough. I'd still say that one mixed a lot easier than the Toupret. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of these and allow them to dry and then sand them down and also see how tough they are. While I've got all three mixed there, I've took a little bit off each of them. That's the Polyfilla, Toupret and the Volden. Polyfilla, Toupret, Volden. Now, when I say fillers are hard to use sometimes, when you're actually using your hawk and you're doing your filling and you're scraping off and taking bits of filler off places, it really counts how the filler reacts and how sticky it is and things like that. So let's have a look at that Polyfilla there. If I smear that out a bit, how easy it is just to clean it up into one lump. Now that did pretty well. Toupret, spread that a bit. Let's try and clean that up. Now already it's a lot more sticky, it's sticking to stuff. So that was a little bit harder to get back off. It's even sticking to it. So really, it's leaving too much mess behind. I've been using it. Wow, that's ridiculous. No, you know, that's one reason I don't like it. And then this is the Volden. The difference, even that's better. So difficult filler to use. So I'm going to allow them to dry now. Each one of them, it says usable for about 40 minutes and then paintable after about 3 hours. Really, when you're going to sound something and it's deep, you want to leave it 24 hours. I was just about to clean these up then, but then I thought I'd show you this part because I mixed them all relatively in the same 5 minutes. The Volden I did first, and that's not bad at all. It's drying off. It's got a lot stiffer, that one. The Toupret. I'll mix that second, so you know you expect it to be a lot softer. And kind of lumpy that is there. It's funny stuff. Polyfilla. Wow, that's going. That's not bad at all. That, but the difference when you spread it as well, it's not as bad as that. That's open. It's a lot worse. And that's why I like Polyfilla, because that's stiffened up really nicely. Within about 10 minutes. So you'll be end up working faster with this stuff. When you're doing small filling, it dries. You can drop back on yourself and wipe it over with a damp cloth. It's fantastic stuff. So these have had 4 hours to dry. And starting with this Volden, you know, it's quite solid, that is. Just break it. Still crumbly. Obviously it's not fully dry. Even sanding that now at this point, you'll just see it just clogs up the sandpaper. So that definitely needs 24 hours to dry. The Toupret, let's see how hard that is. Well, straight away you can see the difference. Oh, that's quite impressive. Well, I've got to say, I'm quite impressed with that. Can't snap it. So with that one, and that's all, you know, they're both after 4 hours. Just. That's got a, quite impressed with that. So after 4 hours though, even so, it's still going to clog your paper up. Not as bad. Not as bad. Now that's quite workable in a way. It's flattening off as well. That's 4 hours. So that's quite impressive really. So let's have a look at the Polyfilla. Well, I'm surprised at that. It cut through a lot easier. It's obviously taking longer to dry than this Toupret, definitely. That seems a lot drier. Can't cut through that. Just about. Anyway, let's have a look at the sanding. Get some clean one. Again, it's clogging up the paper and it's not dried off that well. But it's still sanding, not like the Volden stuff. That was just, it's not really working. It pits easily. So all in all, looking at that, it's not bad stuff, the Toupret. It's drying out quite quickly, 4 hours. I'm quite surprised at that, and it's very tough. But all that being said, my issues are beyond that. I know this Polyfilla, given a bit longer time, 24 hours, and they all need 24 hours before you can sand them nicely. It's easier to work with. It goes harder a lot quicker, so you can drop back, second fill, top up things a little bit, and wipe it back with a damp cloth, save yourself doing some sanding as well. So I definitely still prefer the Polyfilla. Just a quick one, this Polyfilla, like I was saying before, when I sand that Toupret, it sometimes leaves an edge because it doesn't seem to sand fine enough. Now, I was just looking at this Polyfilla which I've got in my hand, and when I scratch it, the surface is a lot harder than the Toupret. Oh, sorry, that's it. That's the really tough, you know, you can't break it. But when I actually scrape it with my finger, it's so soft and powdery. It's leaving big gouges in it. Whereas the Polyfilla is leaving very, very fine gouges in it because it's a lot tougher. That's another thing. That's what I mean, it sands a lot better.